Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mentor Monday. My name is Lauren McGoodwin. I'm the founder and CEO at Career Contessa. And today we are joined by a special guest. Her name is Anna Wood. She is the founder and CEO of Brains Over Blonde. And I'm just gonna look for her really quickly to add her to our, there she is. Add her today on Instagram Live. Thanks to everybody who is joining in. It's always really, hi Anna.
Hi. Hey Lauren, hey everyone.
I love when the technology works out so smoothly like that.
I know. How seamless was that?
I know. Sometimes I don't believe that it's going to work like that. So I always prepare for give your intro. But Anna, thanks so much for joining us for this Mentor Monday. You do your intro so much better than I could ever do it. So I would love for you to tell the audience before we get into some of their questions, who are you, what you do, why is your work important, and what are you passionate about?
Sure. Well, hi everyone. Hi Lauren. So happy to be here. My name's Anna Wood, and I'm the founder of Brains Over Blonde, which is a feminist lifestyle platform for women who refuse to choose between femininity and success. And I really was inspired to create Brains Over Blonde from my own personal and professional life. I was always really interested in diversity and female empowerment. In fact, I designed my own major in college. I went to Berkeley, so you can do things like that. And I decided on diversity in the workplace. And I actually considered taking my whole career kind of in this diversity training path, but ultimately decided the best place for me to go would be Google. I thought I could learn the most there and just be surrounded by really smart people. Mm-hmm. So I worked for Google for 4 years, doing everything from music to Google Play to DoubleClick, which is an advertising platform. Yeah, lots of different stuff.
Yeah, that's the benefit of working at Google though, right? You get to do a lot of different stuff.
It's like I worked at many different companies. A lot of people don't understand that, but yeah, it's such a big place. And I absolutely loved working there, but there did come a time where I wasn't feeling passionate about what I was doing. It definitely felt like a place I would go to make money, and not really, and I'm a very passion-driven person. That's important to me. So I ultimately took on some side projects. I started doing health and wellness coaching, really important to me because I've had body issues my entire life. And on top of that, I also facilitated the unconscious bias course, which is
cool.
Yeah, it was Google's diversity training program. Loved doing that, but at the same time found it a little discouraging. Like, is this really moving the needle? People don't really like going to diversity training.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the coolest workshop there, I'm sure.
Right. So yeah, you get a lot of complaints, a lot of people on their laptops. And I had this idea brewing in my mind for a couple years. I wanted to go to business school. So I applied to business school. Stanford was my dream school. I was fortunate enough to get in there. And I thought that was the best place I could go in terms of culture and in terms of entrepreneurship. I took every entrepreneurship class I possibly could and was toying with a bunch of different ideas, everything from like body image startups to something female empowerment related. Mm-hmm. And I did my MBA internship at The League, which I don't know if any of you guys are on that app. It's a dating app that's all about female empowerment. And really love doing that. And I kind of, just as a hobby, I didn't think anyone would see it. I threw up this equal partnerships, female empowerment, relationship driven blog. And it kind of blew up relatively quickly. And I wasn't expecting that at all. And it just all of a sudden clicked in my brain like, holy shit, this is the business. This is how people are absorbing information. I can reach more women through video and blogs and through social media than I can through diversity training. So I took that one down, started from scratch, treated it like a real business this time. Yeah. And really was formulating the idea my whole last quarter of business school, which was last spring. Mm-hmm. And after graduation, I moved to LA and I launched Brains Over Blonde in August. And it's been a whirlwind ever since. And I'm so glad I took the risk.
That's amazing. From Google to Stanford MBA to running your own business, it's like your whole career has been one big entrepreneurship journey or like class, I guess, because Google's probably still very entrepreneurial. And then of course, business school is pretty entrepreneurial. It's what you make of it, I'm sure.
Very true. Yeah. I think in many ways, I think I've always been an entrepreneur, just in that I've always sought out opportunities where you have to navigate a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah.
But then I'll also say my career journey makes more sense in retrospect. There were plenty of times along the way where I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I'm sure, nice for all of us to hear that someone who's had, such a successful background also had moments where she didn't know what she wanted to do. So we're really lucky to have you here, and I want to make the most of our time. And one of the things that you did that I think a lot of people on the Career Contessa website or audience are thinking about is going back to school. When you're at that crossroad in your career, oftentimes an MBA or any advanced degree seems like maybe that's a good use of your time. So you obviously decided it was a good use of your time. So let's start with the first question, which is, should you pursue an MBA, or how do you make the decision that you should pursue an MBA, especially if you don't know what you want to do?
Totally. Well, spoiler alert, a lot of people that are getting their MBAs don't know what they want to do. So that does not rule you out. But the way I kind of looked at getting my MBA was almost like a reset button. And I think a lot of people find that it's basically this excuse to learn about everything you want in school, but also have the opportunity to reach out to people from all different industries, get internship experience, and make a complete career shift if you want to, which can be sometimes difficult to do if you don't get an advanced degree. A lot of people also use it to kind of propel themselves into management. That said, I would say business school, unlike other advanced degree programs, is very different. It's not just about the degree, it's a life school.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about yourself, you get a lot of feedback, there's a lot of personal growth that happens, and that's was to me one of the most appealing things about business school. And I wanted to totally immerse myself, work on myself as a person, do some soul searching, figure out what I really want to do, meet amazing people, travel the world. And for me, that was the ultimate best 2 years I could have ever had.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some people that are really, really just focused on the academics portion don't get as much out of the experience. Because like I said, it is so much more than just the courses. It's really about the people you meet and the lifelong connections and friendships you have in this network with your school. Mm-hmm. So unless people have a really, really specific, more like tactical reason for going to business school, I usually don't recommend doing a part-time program or doing an online program. I really recommend taking 2 years off, really immersing yourself. That's what's going to make the program worthwhile.
Yeah.
And there are so many great business schools. They all have their own different personalities and cultures. So do your research, talk to people that have been to the different schools you're interested in, visit them if you can, and you'll really get a feel of what they're known for, what kind of people they attract, and that sort of thing. And in terms of just knowing when you're ready, you only want to apply to business school once. That's my advice. It's a lot of work. So if you're not quite ready yet, don't apply. Wait until you're ready. You don't want to have to apply a couple years in a row. And it really does take, I would say, at least a year to apply to business school, because you start out having to do all your research, having to take the GMAT, which usually takes some people, they study for a month, some people study for a year. It just depends kind of what your bandwidth is and how familiar you already are with the material. But regardless, even if you're a brilliant person, an amazing test taker, it does take time to study for the GMAT. We haven't learned a lot of this stuff, especially the quant related questions, since high school. So most people do need to take a lot of time to study for the GMAT, whether that means you take a class or you study on your own. Personally, I did take a class and I found studying on my own to be easier. That's just my personal style. So you'll have to kind of know yourself there. And then on top of the test, you're going to have to get all of your extracurriculars in order. If you don't have that, make sure you have the right recommendation letters, and really kind of building up your profile, your resume, until it's application time, which is another soul searching experience where you have to figure out what you want to do with your life, and really make a powerful application and interview. So it does require a lot of planning in advance. If you're thinking of doing it, definitely get started early.
Yeah. I've also, I thought it was interesting that you said, go to business school if you're looking for the full experience. If you're looking for mostly an academic experience, what would you recommend? There are people who are like, I'm going to business school so that I can tell the story or transition my skills. So I know someone who went to business school, she had a finance background. She really wanted to work in tech. So she went to business school, but maybe she didn't have to go to business school. Maybe she could have taken like a general assembly course or, you know, a code course. Like, what would you recommend if people are like, I like the idea of business school, but I actually don't want to like quote unquote pay for the networking part of it, but I still want to like transition careers with it?
Totally. There are a lot of things you can do. A lot of top programs, I know Kellogg is one of them, USC, there are a number of them. A lot of top programs have a 1-year program, or they have a part-time program, meaning that you can still work and go to school. Like I said, you're sacrificing a lot if you do that. But if you're very, very confident that all you care about is academics, you totally can do that. There also are management degrees. Stanford has one. It's called MSX, which is not an MBA, but you get basically a year of MBA classes. And a lot of top schools have kind of mini programs that are like an executive program over the summer or a 6-week program that'll basically get you a credential you can put on your resume, put on your LinkedIn. It won't carry as much weight, but so that's why you really want to do your research and make sure the classes you're taking there are value enough in themselves in case it's not enough of a resume booster.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's some great advice on should you pursue an MBA. Obviously, you found that pursuing an MBA for your career was really critical and has helped you get to this place with brains over blonde. But we had some other questions come in from readers, so I want to make sure we don't spend the whole time talking about MBAs, although we could. So if you guys want to have Anna back talking more about MBAs, let us know. Okay, so the next question that came in was, if you don't have a mentor in your respected field, is it necessary to find one? And if yes, what's the best way to find someone in your company to be a mentor? Which is always an interesting question because people always want to know if they need one. And then if they do, which I'm sure you're going to say is yes, it's like, how do I find one? Which is not like going to the supermarket and just picking one off the shelf.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
So many people ask this question. You're not alone if you're feeling this way. And it tends to be women that ask this question. Many studies show women do not get mentored as frequently as men do. Personally, I don't feel like I really had a lot of strong mentors before business school in a formalized way. I only worked for and with men. And not that men can't be your mentors, but it is nice to have a female mentor that, you know, women go through a lot of different things in the workplace that men don't go through. So it is really nice to have a female mentor. I always tell people though, your mentor doesn't have to be super, super high up, super like above you functionally wherever you are. You can have a peer mentor. And that's before business school, I would say most of my best mentors were really peers. And we kind of rose through the ranks together and we had different skills. For instance, I was always really good at sales and I had another friend that was really great at explaining like the technical ins and outs of this complicated advertising platform we were selling. And we would always have powwows, like at least once a week, just kind of mentoring each other and up-leveling ourselves that way. And so I really recommend surrounding yourself with other smart people. You can mentor each other. In terms of getting like a more senior mentor, just do informational interviews. People think informational interviews are just for when you're looking for a job, but actually that's like the worst time to informational interview because it just seems like you're asking for a job. So,
they see through that.
So you need to be informational interviewing all the time. Even if you don't plan on leaving your job for 5 years, just go out there and meet interesting people, show your expertise, ask good questions, learn about the industry. And then at the end of the conversation, you can say, do you mind if I follow up with you in a few months and let you know, what I'm working on or how this advice went or whatever it is. And just keep that conversation going. And not everyone is going to turn into a mentorship, but if one or two do, then it's all worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't remember who wrote the book. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Never Eat Lunch Alone.
Yeah.
It's all about, I tried this as an experiment once back when I was working at Hulu. It works really well when you work for like big companies because you can actually never eat lunch alone if you want to. Contessa is a 6-person team, so that would only take you a week and then you'd be done. But the point being is that his idea was like, have lunch with a different person at your company. Obviously, his whole thing is like every day, but what you're saying is like peer mentors or have these informational interviews. Get to know people in other departments and just learn about them. And I think you're really onto something with informational interviews. People love to talk about themselves and tell your story. And you're right. It is a lot easier to do that when one, you're not job searching, and two, when you're already within an organization, you know? And I have found that some of the informational interviews I had when I worked at a tech company, those people now have gone to work at other tech companies,
Exactly.
or, you know, other cool companies in general, and they are my best network, right? And, you know, I don't think you'll ever regret getting to know your colleagues around you like that.
You can meet people everywhere. It doesn't have to be within your own company.
Yeah.
Not that you need to be out there shaking hands everywhere you go. I know that can be like some sleazy to some people, but
yeah.
Just be open-minded. Like Lauren and I met through a friend who met her on a plane.
Oh yeah.
So you never know where you can meet someone. Be someone that stays in touch. That doesn't mean you have to meet with them every week, but if you see an article they might be interested in, email it to them. Just, you know, keep the conversation open and you'll be surprised what relationships come out of it.
Yeah. So for the person who asked that question, I think Anna's advice is great. Reshift your mindset to be about looking for peer mentors, which I think will become a lot easier. I think when we get this idea in our head that we have to find a mentor, it becomes this sort of overwhelming task. And I like that you're simplifying it. I think that's very important. Okay. Next question. I'm looking to, so we get a lot of questions about career transitions here. It's probably not surprising, but this person says, I'm looking to transition into a different field. I have a bachelor's in psychology and been working in social work for the past 4 years. I would like to get into human resources. I don't have experience in that field, but I know I can learn the process quickly that is specific towards HR. How do I get into this field that requires 3 to 5 years of experience? Any suggestions on skills I can use toward applying or positions? So this is a very traditional question that we get, which is, I'm doing this, I want to be doing this, and the problem here is that they want someone with experience. What do I do? How do I bridge that problem?
Well, first, my number one thing is, and this is something we studied a lot in diversity training at Google, is that women see that 3 to 5 years and they just won't even apply because they think that you shouldn't like go outside the rules. I'm speaking in generalities, of course.
Yeah.
Whereas men see the 3 to 5 years and they're like, whatever, I'm still going to apply. So I'm just going to say it doesn't hurt to apply. That being said, work on building your experience where you are, especially if you're transferring into HR. There's so many skills you can be building at your current job or through extracurriculars that are going to apply to HR that you can use to answer interview questions and you can use to beef up your resume. And a lot of my coaching clients kind of limit themselves, I think, at first by thinking, oh, I can't even consider going into this field because I don't have the experience. That's not true. If you're looking to go into HR, take on some side projects at work. Start shadowing someone in HR. Take them to lunch, pick their brain. Maybe join like a women's group or, you know, like an alumni group outside of work and do recruiting, run membership for them.
Yeah.
That's HR too. So you don't have to have a paid HR position to have HR experience. And if you do that for 6 months to a year, that's going to already beef up your resume. You'll have experience. And even if you don't have the 3 to 5 years, I'm sure there are a lot of skills you're learning at your current job that you can, you know, mold the story to make them fit an HR position a little better. It's all about being creative.
Yeah, and how would you recommend like the actual job application part of this? Like, I'm sure everyone who reads Career Contessa has heard our advice 100 times. So I'd love to get another idea here, just sort of your outlook on it. You know, the actual job application part, right? So you've gone out and you've gotten this industry experience, you've put it on your resume, but how do you get the recruiter or the hiring manager to actually look at your resume? Like, do you have any tips with that? Like when you think about applying for jobs, how to make sure that it's seen by a real person?
So I've actually recently changed my outlook on this. I now believe it's all about the cover letter. And everybody has a resume. Cover letter for most people is usually an afterthought. If people do them, it's maybe 90% copy and paste, 10%, like one sentence might be unique.
Yeah.
And I promise you, you are going to get so many more replies and interviews if you spend more time just writing 5 really specific cover letters than if you send 100 cover letters that are all copy paste.
Yeah.
And basically the way cover letters should be formatted are just 3 or 4 short paragraphs really introducing yourself, telling your story, filling in the blanks of what's not in your resume, and showing your intangibles, which are your passion, why you're so interested in moving into HR, why you're the perfect fit for this company, why you sought out their company, this position. Show that you've done your research on them, done your homework, you know the industry, you know the company. That's something that's hard to miss. When people see that you really put in the time and effort, they're at least going to give you a phone call most of the time.
Yeah, when I was a recruiter, we had lots of hiring managers that would not say yes to even phone interviewing someone until they sent in a cover letter. And I also think part of the reason why is because every job you have to be a good communicator, right? And
exactly.
So did you take the time to write a cover letter? Is it written in a way that's fun to read, so you're a natural storyteller, or is it 4 pages of just, like you said, copy and paste? And they totally see through that. I mean, everyone sees through that today, you know? And I agree. I think there's been a lot of conversation around cover letters being dead. But the other thing I would say is that I'm starting to notice that a lot of people are essentially putting their cover letter into their email that they'll send directly to a recruiter. So it's almost like maybe they attach it as well, but their initial reach out to the recruiter is sort of this shortened version of why, like a mini cover letter, and then they have their resume and their cover letter together. And I think that's really interesting. I think everybody likes the storytelling aspect, you know, and making your story really interesting. Like you said, molding the story to tell.
It's such a good point. First of all, email cover letters, you can add hyperlinks, you can link to articles, your website. You can, and I love what you said about like showing your personality. I mean, this is your chance to show your personality. Use humor if you can do it right.
Yeah.
Your resume, they know you can speak formally. They know you can talk business talk. That's on your resume.
Yeah.
Show that you're a person that's enjoyable to be around. Show that you're someone that they want to meet.
Right. And the other tip I always say too is like read about their company culture and then use some of their like key terms into your stuff, right? Like if they say that we love happy hour Fridays, be like, hey, I knew I was a good fit. I don't know, like that's just off the cuff. But the point being is like use their content as well in your resume.